And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the Blue Rose Respite for my spooky Sunday night stream. Thank you all so very much for joining me this evening as we sink our teeth into Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. I am a huge fan of Vampire the Masquerade and World of Darkness as a whole. I used to LARP it. I love being in games of Vampire the Masquerade. It's so much fun. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is one of my favorite games, so I'm very excited for this. But let us see who is in the chat this evening. Salva Holder, welcome back. The Storyteller Bree, the Medloid Man, Scarlet, how are you, my dear? Glad to see you. And Sheb, how's it going, guys? So glad you could join me tonight. Just need to get that sorted. But yes, I'm very excited for this game. It's very much a text-based sort of game, so I will essentially be narrating the entirety of it. But I'm very excited for this. And just a heads up, I did have a rather busy night last night, so I'm a little bit drained. So we might just be going closer towards 2 hours than 2.5 to 3 hours. So just a heads up that we might be having a slightly shorter stream than usual, but I still can't wait to sink our teeth into this game. Okay, so out of the clan options we have Bruja, the rabble rebel against power and rage against authority. A seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. Ventru, the aristocratic blue bloods embody wealth, sovereignty and control. A top-level corporate executive will join their ranks tonight. Or Toreador, the divas seek thrills of art, romance and cruelty amidst stagnant undeath. A tormented artist will join their ranks tonight. I'm actually going to go with Ventru. You would think I would pick Toreador, but I don't know. I haven't played Ventru in quite some time. My very first character was a Ventru, actually. Oh, well, thank you for the hydrate check, Daniel. Gives me a moment to think on my choices. I know, scandalous, isn't it? So, yeah, let's go with Ventru. Okay. Oops. Wish me luck, guys. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me about fate back when I was a human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit, that we are all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not the face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate, you decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a bit longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was never to see its glow again. Hey, Kimmy-kun. Hi, hey, Ewan. How's it going, guys? I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me, the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate, A message saying, "You're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns." It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My side didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. The answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. Your phone rings. It's your boss, again. The setting sun that filled your high-rise office an hour ago is gone. The city looks like an ocean of light from up here, spreading for miles to the north. I will say that is one thing I've always wanted in an apartment or a house in general, is have huge amounts of glass so that when it rains you can see all of the rain pouring past. I just think that's so cool. You pick up. You're about to call it a day, forget about the world of fintech, and decompress at home. No dice. One of the investors wants to meet you. His voice, as always, the perfect mix of authority and sleaze. He'll come by your office in an hour. You look at the clock. An hour? He's got to be kidding. Yeah, I know, but stick around. He's a heavyweight. You'll want to make a good impression. Fine. You grit your teeth a little. The boss hangs up. 2 hours. Might as well pour another coffee into yourself and figure out how to best use this to your advantage. You suspect everyone knows that no, you're actually not happy with your current position, that in fact you feel squished between the glass ceiling that comes with the territory. Sure, your idiot superior might have gotten the job only because he's the CEO's golfing buddy, but you're going to put an unholy amount of work into your advancement. Times were, you'd laugh off the idea of staying at the office until 9 p.m. You had a partner to go home to, the nightly Netflix and chill ritual to perform, complete with pizza or Chinese takeout. Ever since you moved up the ladder, though, your hours have only gotten longer. Food? Mostly at the company cafeteria, sometimes takeout, always in a rush. You praise the heavens for your crazy metabolism and dread the day it finally decides to give up. Rest? At this point, the cleaning lady who takes care of your apartment probably spends more time in your bedroom than you do. Oh, I'm starting out as someone who overworks and doesn't take proper care of themselves. I didn't realize I signed up to be attacked in this story. You flash back to your boss quoting Shakespeare to impress his new, extremely attractive and uncomfortably young secretary. For some must watch while some must sleep. So runs the world away. Drinks, mostly with colleagues, and they all pretty much hate you at this point. Another flashback, this time to the most profitable quarter in the company's history. Still, the board decided that layoffs were in order. Your boss didn't feel like letting people know in person, so he passed that privilege on to you. Fucking asshole. Gotta hand it to him. He always knew how to pick his battles. But maybe, just maybe, tonight is the night it's all going to change. You decide to play the good looks angle. Nothing too slutty. You leave your blouse slightly unbuttoned, check if your ass looks as good as you remember in your pencil skirt. Mirror says yes. It's not something you're proud of, but you become too jaded to care. Knowing your luck, the investor is going to be one of two types. The self-obsessed musk wannabe in his 20s, or a fat old pervert drenched in cologne. You hear the elevator ding. Time to get this show on the road. You take one final look in the mirror and fix your hair as the footsteps echo across the empty hallway. The man who approaches your office is not what you expected. He's slick, to be sure, but he seems a bit more refined than your usual company man. Expensive suit, matching tie and shirt, confidence in his stride. Surprisingly good looking. Quick question. Can everyone hear the music okay? Just because music is a really big part of this game in terms of setting the mood and atmosphere. So I just wanted to check that you guys can hear it. Okay, thank you for that. That's what I wanted to check. Just because the intro music was a little bit loud at times, so I just wanted to... Okay. That should be better for you guys. Good evening. I hope this unforeseen visit isn't too much of an inconvenience. God, that voice. You're taken aback by how smooth and strong it is. And his eyes. Steel blue. Cold. Intense. He's all business. Professional. Treats you in a manner that's appropriate to your stature. When he speaks, he actually looks you in the eye and not at your cleavage. He asks some questions about your work, tells you how he noticed your input after talking to the CEO, another golfing buddy, and comes charmingly close to calling your boss an incompetent doofus. All the while you're trying to guess his accent, but can't quite place it. European, sure, but where from? I know I've kept you long enough, but would you indulge me and join me for a drink? Of course. For a minute there seemed like he wasn't that kind of guy. But what the hell, you go with it. He seems nice enough. Besides, it's not like you have other plans. The investor has a limo waiting downstairs, and the driver takes you to a high-end restaurant in Williamsburg. A seat is waiting for you on the deluxe lounge. It's just the two of you. I will say, just looking at the art, this is exactly the kind of place I would go. You talk about this and that. Your companion seems to have a knack for history. So, tell me, what would you do if you had full control of the company? You almost choke on your wine. This is your chance. You say what's been on your mind for months, but hide it behind a veneer of professional corpo babble. Refocusing, listening to your instincts for once, restructuring, kicking out your boss, aggressively pursuing new markets, getting the hell away from all these horrible people. He likes the sound of that. He leans forward. His eyes flash with intensity and something else. A strange emotion that wasn't there before. You'll do just fine. His words echo inside your head as you black out. You wake up, God knows how much later. As you try to piece together what happened, you hear a familiar voice. The investor, or whoever the hell he is, talking to someone. You suddenly recall snippets, fragmented memories, his sapphire eyes intently locked with yours, his teeth suddenly longer and sharper, and something else, a feeling on your neck that takes you back to your last orgasm, a company trip to Florida, a sweaty room, the cutie from HR who doesn't work there anymore, and then darkness. Yes, I'm done here. Consider my debt paid. The investor pushes the other figure aside and walks away from the lounge, barely bothering to look at you. The door locks behind him. Some time passes before you find the strength to get up from the couch. You touch your lips. Blood? Did that asshole hit you? You try to stand up, but your head is pounding and your stomach is like a heavy knot, pulling you down. You didn't have that much to drink. He must have spiked your wine. This is bad. You frantically check your clothes. Pristine. Doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, a feeling hits you unlike anything you've ever felt before. You fall to the floor, writhing in an all-encompassing pain and hunger. The kind that makes your insides burn, that cannot be denied. You try to calm yourself with a breathing exercise they taught you at some bullshit mindfulness course. That's when it hits you. You're not breathing. And holy shit, your heart should be jumping out of your chest with that realization. But it's not moving. Not even a beat. The door unlocks. You hear a startled voice. A young man in a waiter's outfit, his accent thick with an Eastern European harshness, leans over and asks if you are all right. For a brief moment you wonder what the hell he's doing here. Everything is wrong. Then his smell reaches your nostrils. It's intoxicating. Everything feels right again. He holds out his arm to help you stand up. You grab it, firmly, with both hands, and then you bite down. You sink your teeth right next to the old-school pin-up tattoo of Rita Hayworth on his forearm. It takes you a moment to process what you're doing. A part of you wants to break away, but a stronger voice implores you to keep drinking. One thing becomes clear. You are definitely enjoying this. You take a drink of my own? He only struggles a little and quickly falls to his knees. You can see his eyes now, pale blue and confused. You only bring yourself to let him go once he collapses onto the floor. Your bite leaves a mess on his forearm. Poor Rita, all bloodied, missing half her face. Did you just drink this guy's blood? Spooky shit's happening. You spit out a piece of torn flesh. That's a... Why? What was in that fucking wine? Barely able to focus, your heart and your lungs still motionless, you reach for your phone and dial 911. 911 operator, what's your emergency? My heart stopped? My heart, it's not beating. Ma'am, where are you right now? The door to the lounge swings open. The man who enters is not the one who brought you here, though there are similarities. He's tall for one, broad-shouldered, handsome, dressed in an immaculate suit, but his skin is darker and the look on his face tells you he is not here to negotiate a deal. He notices the smartphone in your hand. Oh, he's hot. I'm sorry, I'm going to just take a moment to appreciate this very nice art. Okay. Pass me the phone if you want to live. The man's voice is persuasive, calm but carrying clear threat. He's got the aura of a viciously efficient corporate shark. You find it hard to argue with him. Ma'am, hello? I apologize for waiting your time. Like, that comment, he looks kind of like Alucard, but with a beard. Like, he's giving me some serious Vlad Tepes vibes. So, I'm maybe going to see if I can do a voice similar to his. I apologize for wasting your time. My new colleague got drunk and is now trying to impress everyone with her antics. Good night. He disconnects the call and places your phone in his pocket. For whatever reason, you can barely take your eyes off the stranger. As hypnotizing as his presence is, although it is also highly discomforting. Good evening, miss. I'm here to pick you up. Who are you? Who are you? I'm your guide through this perilous night. The stranger approaches the waiter and examines his body. Critical condition, but he might live. Anyway, he then sets his sights on you. Angerous Angel! Thank you so much for the 7th month resub. 7 months of relaxation in the respite, and every single one of them has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your amazing continued support. He then sets his sights on you. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you, and going by experience, they tend to fall into 2 categories. First, there are the smart ones who actually obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, literally dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness. One that inspired me to come up with a three-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. I'm not complaining. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes and you're out. Say, "I understand, sir," now. Every atom of your being screams for you to obey his authority. I think those last 2, that's just poking the bear. I'm not going to do that shit. I understand, sir. Stick to that tone and you'll do just fine. Moving on, is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're alright. He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason the sight sends a chill down your spine. There is something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? My boss? My boss, I suppose. The stranger squints at you. Forgive me, but am I to assume your relationship is more than professional? You immediately give him a piercing glare. No, God, no. Me and that pig? Don't be ridiculous. He said he was the closest person to you. You asked me if I had anyone I'd like to tell I'm alright. The answer is yes. People at my office. I don't want to lose my job, so I'd prefer to let them know I didn't just go off on a bender. And hi, Creamy, how's it going? Welcome to the Blue Rose Respite. Take a seat, enjoy yourself, and feel free to stay as long as you like. And hey, Samuel, how's it going? Glad you could make it. No family, no lover, no friends. Your blank stare tells him the whole story. He immediately stops prying and gives you something worse than a look of pity. A look of honest compassion. Well, that makes things simpler. But let me be crystal clear, just in case. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. That practiced tone again. You put on your poker face and listen in silence. So unless you want your boss to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I suggest you cooperate. Don't tempt me. He smiles, revealing his fangs again. There's something absolutely sickening about it. Suddenly you feel overwhelmed by a sense of exhaustion. You pass out. When you regain your senses, you find yourself in the stranger's arms. Okay, I'm fine with this. The man is holding you as you would a spouse who's had a little too much to drink. You try to break free, but he holds you close and gives you a cautioning look. Only when you cease your struggling does he let you go. Only now do you notice the change in scenery. You find yourself in a fancy lobby right next to the elevator. The place is virtually empty, save for a single concierge and some cleaning staff. Your companion gestures at the concierge as you pass, and he picks up the phone. The elevator arrives, the door opens, and the man motions towards the cabin. After you. Where are we going? Samuel, DM me after the stream and I'll see if I can get that sorted for you, okay? To a safe place. That's all you need to know. Trust me, you don't want to make this difficult. Just get in. Yeah, I'm not gonna fuck around with this guy. He's like flexed his power way too many times. I'm not gonna like get on his bad side. Going against your instincts, you enter the cabin. Smooth jazz is playing over the speakers as the elevator starts its descent. You are dazed, panicky, but somehow locked in place. On the one hand, you find the stranger's presence oddly soothing. On the other, you can feel your body tensing up with stress. You can't help but think back to the young waiter, the doe-eyed look on his face, the confused look he gave you just before. No, it's better not to think about it. Plus, you have other things to worry about, like the fact that you're being kidnapped. The cabin door opens to the same garage you arrived at with the investor some hours ago. The man shows you a black Cadillac Escalade? I think it's Escalade. I know what you're thinking. Getting into a car with some strange man, boy, sure seems like a dumb idea. Maybe I can make a run for it. I might be able to lose him. So let me be perfectly clear. Your best bet is to get in, relax, and enjoy the ride. Yeah, what happened to the waiter? Do you think that waiter upstairs, is he going to be alright? Yes. You look him in the eye and can immediately tell he's lying. Oh no, did we kill someone? No more questions. Get in the car, please. I'm getting in the car. I'm not gonna piss him off. It seems like the worst idea ever, but the man's made it very clear that you have no choice in the matter. You have no friends. Don't lie to him. I'd ask the last one. Are you going to hurt me? No, not tonight at the very least. Unless you make me. Hi Lex, how's it going? Thank you so much for the follow. You are now one of my lovely lost tales, and you are welcome back at the Blue Rose Respite anytime. Take a seat, enjoy yourself, and I hope you have a wonderful evening with us tonight. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Listen, you really need to quit stalling. We're on a bit of a schedule here. The sun comes up in about 2 hours, and I don't intend to be here when it does. Look, I just want to know what this is about. Then wait until tomorrow. He opens the car door and gestures towards it. You see no point in delaying the inevitable, so you get in. The door locks behind you. The Cadillac is almost entirely dark and side windows seem light-proof. The man gets into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. I will say, seeing his eyes in the rearview mirror, he is very intimidating. He's got, like, the art is really, really good. This game's so cool. Yeah, my heart stopped and I'm not breathing. Did I die? Depends on your definition of death. Your definition, as it were. I'm sorry, that was awful. I apologize. Listen, I realize you have many questions. Tomorrow you will get some answers, but tonight you need to do what I say. And right now, I need some quiet, please. You feel too confused to protest. You stay silent for the rest of the ride, as even as more questions bubble up to the surface, one of them being, did you actually kill someone tonight? Staring out the window, you find it hard to focus and quickly lose track of where you're headed. You can only tell that you haven't left Manhattan. Another underground parking, almost featureless, empty. The car stops and the man opens the door for you. We're here. The stranger walks you to a nearby door. He opens it and motions you to get in. Go on in, make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry, again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. You're leaving me here? That's it, you're just going to leave me here. That's it. For now, at least. Look, this room is your best chance of seeing another night. I realize you've been put in a problematic situation, and it's not entirely your fault. Cooperate, and you might still make it. You will learn more tomorrow, but for the time being, get in and get cozy. He gestures inside the room. He's already flexed that he's powerful and so much stronger than me, so just play along, keep playing along until you can get some agency back. You step inside, the stranger nods. Good night. He locks the door behind you. It looks very sturdy. You open the fridge. There's a single plastic bag in there, filled with red liquid, no label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. Yeah, I usually have the same reaction to boxed wine. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. At least it's not too filthy. Think back to how this evening began. The investor. Is he friends with the dark-skinned stranger who picked you up from the restaurant? What happens now? Unable to relax, you spend an hour or so playing out various scenarios in your head. Eventually, you decide to give in and let exhaustion take over. Whatever tomorrow brings, you'd rather face it well-rested. Plus, there's no way in hell your boss isn't going to notice your absence tomorrow. That, and maybe some of the restaurant staff will feel a pang of conscience. Someone will notify the police. Someone will find you. Right? You flash back to the waiter's tattoo, the bloody Rita Hayworth winking at you over a pale mess of a wound. You did this. You bit him, drank his blood, and it tasted good. What if you can never go home again? You're so tired, your entire body tenses up one last time, and, before you know it, you drift away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You've slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling, though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and the back of your head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. You take a closer look at it. If it's soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out, take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating. But now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. I'm gonna drink the blood. I'm gonna drink the blood, because putting two and two together, figuring out what the fuck's going on, yeah, I'm gonna need my strength. It feels wrong, but right now there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes like shit. It's coppery thick and clings to your tongue and the inside of your mouth like a film of dirt. You swallow hard regardless. Good soup. The taste is foul, but somehow you kind of want more of it. Oh, sorry. Can you imagine? Because it's in a bag, so it has been somewhat sealed, but not like vacuum packed. But you know how on soup you get like that skin layer and you have to kind of peel it off? Like, I honestly don't mind that so much. But imagine that with like in a blood bag and it's like goopy and like when you get like a blood nose, and what comes out is like a weirdly goopy and stuff. Now imagine drinking that and oh god. No. As you take a second sip, sucking the blood out of the bag, you feel something pull on your insides. You double over. You're going to barf. You instinctively cover your mouth looking for a place to vomit. Before you find it, a dark red wave washes over your hand and fingers. It hits the floor, spattering in huge, thick drops. You keep heaving for a moment longer. Nothing is coming out. Not blood, not bile, not even spit. But still something in your body wants to push it out. Push it all out, every last drop. As you recover, trying to wipe droplets of regurgitated blood from your dress, you hear the lock click and see the door open. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Oh great, and I'm standing in a puddle of my own sick, which is covered, it's just blood. I'm standing in a pool of regurgitated blood. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look, like a hawk on a hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe? Good evening, how was... He notices the spatter, your red hand, the sick look on your face. He barely contains a smirk. Oh, was the catering unable to satisfy your exquisite taste? Apologies. I'm not going to offer him a drink. I drank all of it, and now it's a puddle on the floor. I'm not going to insult him like that. It was terrible. Probably the worst thing I ever tasted. Aren't we picky eaters? Spare me your complaining. Come on, we've got places to be. I should have some water and a towel in the back of the car so you can clean yourself up. Oh, that's nice. I do appreciate that. The car is humming in an empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you've spent the day in. The man motions to it, politely, but with a stern look on his face. I'd also kindly ask him if he has a toothbrush and toothpaste, because I would want to scrub my mouth out entirely of, like, all of that nastiness. Ugh. Hijack the car! I don't know how to hijack a car! It's been so far so good, except for like the shitty blood that I tasted, so I'm just gonna play along, keep playing along. It's not like I have a choice, right? Correct. But your cooperation is appreciated nevertheless. You take the back seat again, the doors lock, the stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming in the car engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. Oh, thank you for the hydrate check, server holder. Thank you. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There is nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry. No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and the back of your head. You become restless. This is essentially a kidnapping. Whatever this guy says about its purpose, it doesn't change the fact that you're being held against your will, and you're not used to following orders when you can't delegate them to somebody else. Hang on. Sorry, that was just a hair in my face that was annoying me. You feel a need to get a semblance of control over the situation, so you decide to prove yourself useful. Because, yeah, in this situation, while you're putting it together that things have definitely changed in innumerable ways, that you are not alive anymore and you've been kidnapped, given this was just, if I was in this situation, given the cut of his suit, the car he's driving, he has money. He doesn't need more money. He doesn't give a shit about connections. Clearly he is in a position of power and that's of no interest to him. I have a worthwhile skill set. Sell what you can do. Listen, I'm an investment advisor and I have a lot of experience in fintech. Whatever your organization is, it might find use for me. I don't even have any idea what fintech is, and honestly, I don't care to find out. A short pause. I'll be frank. Currently, you're in no position to offer anybody anything. The sooner you accept that, the better. All of these are terrible! I don't want to piss this guy off! Curse him out, call him a nobody, or ridicule his lack of ambition. Oh, you take care, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Oh, God. I think the last one is probably the least, like, aggressive. I would say maybe, like, you would have that, just this frustration built up in you. So, oh, I'll curse him out. How bad can this go? Pig-headed fuckboy. Hey, language. A short pause. He actually looks insulted. Your attitude won't help you make any friends, and in your current position you definitely need some. Consider that, preferably in silence. Just kick the back of his seat like a toddler with a temper tantrum. That dull hunger strikes again. The powerlessness hurts. You are used to people listening to you, or pretending to care about your demands at least. The driver doesn't play that game, and it annoys you to no end. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe? After me. No sudden movements, please. Immediately smash cut to me, like, running in the opposite direction the moment I get out of the car. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a 2-story gallery called the Art Hole. Yeah, that sounds about right. 2 large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigating the gathering serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite. Unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. And yeah, I really like these paintings as well. Like, honestly, this looks like a gallery that I'd be very interested in visiting. This reminds you of company meetings. You, the only woman in the room, silently judged not on her merits, but her standing on the list, passed in clandestine email threads between your male co-workers, until HR found out, that is. Not the most pleasant experience, but there's no denying it taught you resilience. When others would cower, you now straighten up. When others would turn their gaze, you meet the eyes of the gallery's guests with confidence. Hello. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, a crowd of strangers. You being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Good evening, miss. Oh fuck, this is the prince! Oh no! Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helene Panhard, child of Michaela. Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She is somewhat plain-looking, but doesn't possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people, that much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. And yeah, I have a feeling if I tried to curse her out, my life would be ended within the next, 20 seconds. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I'm willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to stay silent, because I'm in a room with very dangerous people, apparently. You decide it's best to stay silent and listen to the whole situation unfold. It feels like you're out of your depth here. Yeah, while I was able to get a little burst of cussing out the sheriff, I'm not going to try that in the prince's presence. I've been playing this game long enough to know you do not do that in the prince's presence. Shall we begin? You're about to be judged by the court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Side note, one day I would love to play, the prince of a city in a game of Vampire the Masquerade, because I played, the Spring Queen in a Changeling game, and I had so much fun with that. I would love to play a prince one day. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe? A trusted informant, who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time, tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. A reservation made in the private lounge of the patrician suggests this one sire had plenty of resources to spend. However, they are apparently also well connected. I lost track of them. Despite some reservations, she offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force her compliance. I know how this game is played. Opening the door to the safe house tonight, I was greeted by the most disturbing sight of her drenched in regurgitated blood. Apparently, the bag supply we kept in the fridge was not to her liking. The remark elicits a contemptuous chuckle from one of the gathered guests as they notice the remains of the blood on your skirt. Oh god, I still have blood stick on me, and I'm in front of the fucking Prince of New York. At that point, just stake me. Just stake me right there, because I will never live this down. Oh, I'm dead, so I'll never die this down. It was not an elegant sight, but that hardly matters, I suppose. Moving on. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged her to join me, which she did without struggle. A pleasant departure from my usual routine, I must say. During our drive here, she showed me her fangs, metaphorically speaking, posturing as if we were equals, insulting me when it didn't work. I refrained from causing her physical harm, and I expect her ego might be a bit bruised. He looks at you and flashes a nasty smile. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman, with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behaviour and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire. The person who brought you here, the person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? Give direct answers to the Prids, do not fuck around. An entrepreneur, acquaintance of my boss, I think. Good-looking, pale blue eyes and some grey in his hair. Charming, abusive, cold son of a bitch. You feel tired and angry. This whole situation, spending the day in some underground parking lot, having to bear the looks of a room full of strangers, it's almost too much to take in stride. There's no reason you should take it all in stride, but you do, because if there's one thing your professional career has taught you, it's that. All because of that asshole. Whoever he was, he never even gave you a name or a card. Nothing. Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. He talked to somebody at the restaurant. That man, he talked to somebody at the restaurant before he left. I can't remember what he said, but he wasn't alone. Maybe that's a lead you can follow? Did he now? That is interesting. I do hope the proprietor won't stay mad at us for losing one of his staff. It's almost like he knows the waiter's fate is still bothering you and takes pleasure in pointing it out. Thank you for that observation. I will investigate it. Later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. No, please don't kill me. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir about all that talk of traditions and council was, when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie? Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. She's pretty. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know that this verdict is what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight after all. She's pretty. I like her dress. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. Wait, no, I didn't do anything wrong. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you're left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. I will say, the guy knows how to, handle a sword. As someone who has done fencing in the past, okay. I kind of dig that. Oh, thank you for the stretch check, Samuel. Oh, thank you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. What do you mean? What do you mean? I still don't understand what my crime is here. Poor thing. This really isn't your fault, but if you want to get out of here in one piece, you need to understand one crucial fact that you have eluded, that seems to have eluded your grasp. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? That would be my reaction of just wait, what? What? I'm a what? God damn it. Oh yes, I am well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason that we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains that being The beings called vampires? You're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not the right thickness. And not the right colour either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, what the fuck, on repeat. Yeah, honestly, that sounds very accurate. Just like trying to piece everything together while just like, what the fuck? You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance. A way out. Under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and Kadir's complaints about your behavior won't influence her judgment. This society values docility. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. Whatever you want, Mama. Sorry. I am not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. What happens? Suppose I say yes. What happens then? You survive, hopefully. Or not, depending on the prince's whim. I'm giving you a chance, not a guarantee. But if you take me as your patron, I will be your guide in this new reality. And you will assist me, like a child would a sire. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard, fastened with a colourful sash round his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes centre stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight. I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. Their behaviour since being embraced has been disagreeable, and that does not bode well for them becoming a valuable member of our society. I thought I was well behaved. You are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever before. As our trusted sheriff pointed out, there can only be one course of action. Although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinions on this. She takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a somewhat plainly dressed, shy-looking man, whose skin is a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that while their embrace may be the sire's responsibility, in their absence it is the progeny that shall be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir? You hear a scraping sound and see the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautifully detailed blade which you expect must be worth a small fortune, and its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs. Bottom of the knife. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. I'm playing by their rules. I'm surrounded by fucking vampires. Ask for mercy. You make your choice. Spare me, please. Don't make me beg, goddammit. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer. Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you wish you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The board elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but without proper guidance, they could become with proper guidance, they could become an asset to our domain. And I understand you are volunteering to take this unruly child under your protection? Yes. I'm willing to give them a chance, and prove to the entire domain that they can adhere to our expectations. I will take nothing less than their full cooperation, naturally. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two, a hushed, just behead the fucker! Some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favour, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until the progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. I'm letting them talk it. I'm not saying a fucking thing. Its clear tensions are high. It feels surreal to listen to strangers discussing your death, or second death apparently, and keeping silent. I could just imagine, like, I'm sitting there or, like, kneeling on the ground and, like, his hands on my shoulder and just, like, the boos and the hisses and someone fucking throws their wine glass at me. You decide it's for the best to let Sophie handle this alone and not interject. You have no idea how to handle this wise-eyed shut crowd. Yeah, pretty much like you find yourself in like the center of like an eyes wide shut situation. You just like, just keep playing along until I can get out of this. The prince looks at you as if weighing your worth. She takes another good measure of the room before she speaks again. I shall grant you what you ask. Let it be known, Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose shall become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction, if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Stephanie, Prince. She nods. Oh, shit! Welcome to the Camarilla, Stephanie. Now, this evening proved to be even more eventful than anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties. Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And, if need be, you will be punished. Do you promise? The two of them leave the gallery. Okay, so the things that popped up, I'm assuming it's just like for a reference guide in case you're not familiar with the terminology. So let's have a quick look at the ones that came up. The Camarilla. Just in case for people who are watching who aren't familiar with the Vampire the Masquerade and its terminology. The Camarilla. A major sect of vampires devoted primarily to maintaining the masquerade through influence and manipulation of mortal society. Fledgling. A newly created vampire still under their sire's protection. Prince. A vampire who has claimed a given expanse of a domain as their own, generally a city, and supports their claim against all others. The term can refer to a kindred of either sex. Oh, thank you for the hydrate check, Metalloid Band. Much appreciated. And yeah, well, for you, miles better than La Croix. La Croix was a bitch, to be fair. Well, Stephanie, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. Well, let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to our new fruitful partnership. She raises her hand at one of the well-dressed concierges, who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guests' glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. The memory of throwing up in the safe house is still fresh in your mind, and the idea that it could happen again is almost enough to reject the drink altogether. But there's no denying you want it, need it. I remember what Kadir said about your misadventure before getting in the car. Some of us have more delicate palates than others. Try to take a small sip, s'il vous plaît. He pours it into 2 tall glasses. You can barely wait until he hands you the drink. Your attention is fully on it. The fact that it's blood, you are certain of it, doesn't faze you this time. It's difficult to take just a sip. Even though the taste is as foul as before, you are tempted to down the whole glass in one go. You wait before taking a second taste. You're glad you did. A feeling like heartburn signals that you can't keep it down. You spit it back inside the glass. Sophie looks on, intrigued. I'm not surprised. NYC caterers have very bourgeois ideas about what good blood should taste like. Well, you just need to keep trying. Sane Loves Twitch, thank you so much for the follow. You are now one of my lovely lost tales, and you are welcome back to Blue Rose Respite anytime. Take a seat, enjoy yourself. I'm sure the chat will make you feel more than welcome. Samuel, oh no, I never learned how to say thank you in French. It's merci is just a general thanks. Merci beaucoup, I believe, is thank you very much. I need to start taking my French lessons again. At Sophie's request, the concierge serves you 3 other variants of blood. The first 2 were as horrible and indigestible as before, both ending up back in the glass within moments of tasting them. Oh my god, are we doing like a flight of blood like you would with like whiskey or beer in the middle of an art gallery? Sorry, I am just so delighted by that notion. Just Sophie, you're already just lovely. I'm sure you're going to turn into a far more sinister character by the end of this story, but taking the time to make sure that I find blood that is satisfying to me, that is agreeable to my delicate palate. Thank you. Before the 3rd try, you're almost ready to throw the glass at the wall in frustration. But finally, this one's different. Instead of mud and decay, a surprisingly rich bouquet of tastes. You feel blissfully at ease, and Sophie takes notice. Ah, there it is. Jacob, would you kindly let us know who the donor was? Leave the bottle, please. The concierge nods and leaves again. You take another sip. and another. You empty the glass. The dull feeling in your stomach and head starts subsiding, but you still want more. Yeah, I seriously thought that maybe like the blood in the bag was maybe like a part of a test or something like that, and it was like animal blood, like just essentially like a rat soup or something like that. That was just like animal blood, but just put in a bag and left there for emergencies, or had been sitting there for like months or years and had gone really bad. But no, we're just a Ventru with very particular tastes. Sophie pours you another glass and refills hers. She takes a sip. You have a curiously specific taste, Stephanie. Is it the clover notes, the traces of caffeine, or that bittersweet aftertaste of melancholy? You taste nothing of the kind, but it doesn't matter. It's tasty, but not as delicious as it was last night. Not as intoxicating. It manages to silence the hunger somewhat, though. Drinking blood puts you at ease. It is a strange realization. The man named Jacob comes back with a small card and leaves it with Sophie. She takes a quick look and passes it on to you. It's somebody's medical details. An office worker, male, Caucasian, 32 years old, blood type AVRH+, blue eyes, brown hair, no history of substance abuse, New Jersey native. Might one of these details be what makes the difference? Now that we have picked the right bouquet for your palate, these documents should be useful in identifying your exact taste. Should they be ORH plus or Jose boys? But I believe you have more questions, no? Perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance. I think it's fairly obvious where you get blood, but how will I know what I can drink? These difficulties of mine, how do I navigate that? How will I know what kind of blood I can drink? It's a tricky question. I believe you will just have to trust your instinct on this. With time, you should be able to narrow down your particular preference. Blood that you reject is of course of no value to you, and it's a horrible waste. No amount of it will ever sate your hunger completely, but every little sip counts. If you're frugal, or forced by the circumstances, you can survive many nights without a single drink. But it's risky, and will tempt the beast that is part of our curse. It will take some time to find the right balance. Tomorrow I shall take you hunting, and we will explore this topic further, but you should be good for now. I'll read the definition for what the beast is so we can answer that one, but let's ask Sophie about what she wants. So, now that I'm working for you, what are my responsibilities going to be like? It's a bit more complicated than working for me. If I wished for a servant, there are easier ways to achieve that than risking the prince's chagrin at Elysium. Okay, we've got 3 new entries, so let's have a read of them. The hunger. The urge to feed. For vampires, the hunger replaces all other drives with its own powerful call. The beast. The incoherent drives and urges that threatens to turn a vampire into a mindless, ravening monster. Elysium. A place where vampires may gather without fear of harm. Court functions in Elysium are strictly kept apart from mortals and surrounded by secrecy. But the Elysium building itself could be a public museum, a gallery, or club. Bergen is an anarch asylum. Bergen, is an anarch asylum. The Louvre is a Camarilla asylum. I can see potential in you that would have been wasted if I hadn't spoken up. Not to mention it would pain me to witness a senseless final death. It always had. That said, I will require that you defer to me in all things, but me being your mentor and superior also means I shall treat you as my loyal retainer and understudy. With me, you can go far. Without me and proper guidance, you would have become a clear danger to the Masquerade. That is why, with your sire gone, the prince wanted you out of the picture too. Okay. I'm going to do it in like break gaps of 3 because like 3 new terms is like a good amount to go through each time. So, the final death. When a vampire ceases to exist, crossing the line from undeath into true death. The Masquerade. The habit, or tradition, of hiding the existence of vampires from humanity. Designed to protect vampires from destruction at the hands of mankind, the Masquerade was adopted after the medieval Inquisition claimed many kindred unlives. Sire, the vampire's begetter, the kindred who created them. The concierge returns, asking for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told the gallery is just about to close, but we still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on could tip any negotiation towards her favour. Her words are like honey, and she makes it impossible to take your eyes off her. You are under her spell, momentarily. Oh, we've been adopted! Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. The chief among them is the Masquerade. As you might have gathered from us assembling at a niche gallery after closing time, our comings, goings, and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts. So, to the vast majority of kind, we remain bedtime stories and pop culture icons. Yeah, honestly, like, Samuel, you and I are in the same boat of just like, Mommy, sorry, Mommy, sorry, just, Mommy, sorry. Also, we just made it out of, like, Elysium, being surrounded by fucking vampires, and the prince wanted us dead. Everything's fine. Say, is that one television show about a vampire angel still popular? You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a bit more dejected than before. Our clandestine ways help us remain safe, allows us to explain away the occasional trip up to the rational minds of 21st century humanity, and dictate much of our interactions with mortals. What's the worst thing that could happen if you're a vampire? I'm sure you can defeat any threat that comes your way. It would surely make things easier if we could. Unfortunately for us, there are plenty of things that harm us. Chief among them are sunlight and fire. Both will burn you to ash. That's why we rest during the day. You felt it, I'm sure, that it's more like being dead than being dormant. But we have no choice. We are night dwellers, but day sleepers. Some more folk-related threats are just legends, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water, even religious symbols don't repel us, unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes through the heart, though, that's something to avoid. They do not destroy, but they do paralyze, which, under the right circumstances, can often be the same thing. That's the reason to have someone like my trusted driver, Gregory, making sure you're safe when you drift away. We have many enemies, and they often know their advantage lies with daylight. How can you trust your driver? Your driver must know who he works for, right? I mean, he's right there. Surely he can hear everything we're saying. How can you trust him to keep your secrets? His loyalty is assured by partaking of my blood, but his loyalty extends beyond just this dependency, as I'm sure he'll be happy to tell you if you ask. It is a nice change of pace. Our little sect supplies social interactions aplenty, but it doesn't really encourage counting on someone. Support given in exchange for favours? Yes, that's more like it. Okay, got a few more fun words. The traditions. The 6 traditions form the core framework of governance among the kindred. The first tradition, the Masquerade. Thou shalt not reveal thy true nature. The second tradition, the Domain. Thy domain is thine own concern. All others owe thee respect while in it. The third tradition, the Progeny. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. The fourth tradition, the Accounting. Those thou shalt create are thine own children. Their sins are thine to endure. The fifth tradition, Hospitality. Honour one another's domain. Without the word of acceptance, thou art nothing. And the sixth tradition, Destruction. Thou art forbidden to destroy another of thy kind. The right of destruction belongeth only to thine elder. Kine, a term for mortals largely contemptuous. The phrase kindred and kind refers to the world at large, everything. Sect, a group of vampires arguably united under a common philosophy. The two most widely known sects currently populating the night are the Camarilla and the Anarch movement. I wonder if we're going to cross paths with any Anarchs. Probably. Long-term solidarity does occur in the Camarilla, but we are a very politicized organization by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. When you're in Elysium, like we were tonight, the sect can appear to be a monolith. The reality is more complex. Outside of official gatherings, shady deals and quid pro quo mentality reigns supreme. She seems to be lost in thought and falls silent for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things you've learned tonight. It still feels absolutely unreal, but as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you've witnessed. Many questions swarm your thoughts, but the one you keep returning to is what your place in this new reality should be. The car stops. You're in the city, in front of an old but well-renovated apartment building. We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings? Is it another parking lot room? Is it another drab room in an underground parking lot? For my safety and all that? Don't be ridiculous. You're not a Silas fledgling in Kadir's stern grasp anymore. And even he wouldn't hold you there any longer than necessary, I think. Come upstairs. She leads you through a small hall with a night guard who greets Ms. Langley with a good evening, and you take the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to room 209. Inside are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have deemed necessary just the previous night, including thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable-looking bed and a thick steel door with several sturdy-looking locks, but no windows. Well, how do you like it? I will say, one detail I really like about this game, if you notice, I didn't point it out in the previous scene and I wish I had, they keep the art consistent for all the characters, but the lighting on them changes depending on the background image, which I think is like a really cool little detail that I really like. Oh, I wouldn't be complaining about this. She kind of saved our ass tonight, so a thank you I think is in order. This is great, thank you. I'm glad. Make yourself at home. Tomorrow, I will take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get comfortable. The keys are by the television set. I will come pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the doors, just in case. It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly becomes a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. Feels strange that Kadir could be a more thoughtful host than your new sire, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing in the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United States got himself out of trouble again. Pundits are yelling over each other about things that seem a little less insignificant just 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting on another night of confusing conversations and worldview-shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happens to you and what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder when you'll have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift into a cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. The bed is comforting. The lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realize it's the closest thing you'll come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take the plunge into darkness again. Sinking, sinking, sinking. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And I think, yes, we need to rest. Oh. I'm not sure if you can see it, but if you look closely at the map, you can actually see, like, the streets moving and shifting with, like, darker hues and red highlights. So it actually looks like veins and capillaries running through the city. Oh, that's so cool. Just like, sorry, I am a big fan of like the potentials for storytelling in Vampire the Masquerade. Yes. So I love this world. I love this world so much, and it's so cool. Okay, tutorial time. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade while sustaining what humanity you have left. In Coteries of New York, having high hunger is indicated by a progressively thicker blood frame around the screen, like the one you see now. Okay, yes, you guys can kind of see it as well. So you see like the blood spatters on the side of the frame, that's what they're referring to. As your hunger grows, so does this indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you will receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only become visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you'll be able to see after pressing continue. Okay. I will do my best to remember that. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you are to hold the masquerade and survive the nights that await you. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling. The solid metal door is closed. Normally you stretch for a bit. On some mornings you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you were fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down. Just the nagging need in the back of your head. Oh, it's all good, Scarlet. You take care, okay? Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time, 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is New York City's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You miss the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself, but then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised at the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad after all. You keep jumping channels for about half an hour, and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in a flood of recommendations. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Stephanie. Slept well? Like a dead man. Curious wording, but not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on it. I think you'll agree with time. You made the right choice yesterday. I could teach you many things about yourself. Your blood, its desires, and its power. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There's only one remedy. The blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. So tonight, I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kind's vulnerabilities to your advantage. Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness! Or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You'll find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation. But if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the Masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. How do you cover your tracks seems a big question. Fighting people leaves marks, right? And the victims remember your face. You shouldn't concern yourself with leaving marks. These are easy to conceal. You just need to bite carefully and then lick the punctures closed. That's all there is to it. Agent 187, welcome to the Blue Rose Respite. I love those emotes. Take a seat and enjoy yourself. Good to see you tonight. As for being remembered, like I mentioned, the kiss is an ecstatic experience, so Kine can barely recall the details. And even when they do, the city is enormous. You could spend days on the streets and not meet the same face twice. Use that to your advantage. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out, you risk the ire of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested, or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously, and respect the Masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy street fills the air with the traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorientate you momentarily. The warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her, and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thinned New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. Oh, yes, Agent, I have. I used to LARP Vampire the Masquerade, 2nd edition, I believe it was. So it was Vampire the Requiem then, for about 4.5 years, and I had so much fun with that. I've done a couple of other games since then, but I love this game. Come, Stephanie. Park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods and Sophie gets out. You join her, and the two of you walk through the glass doors together, then take the elevator up. Another gallery? You first notice the empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then take in a few dozen chairs in front of it. Oh, Agent. I haven't watched the most recent season. I'm waiting for all of the episodes to come out, and then I'm just gonna like binge watch all of them back to back because I get really impatient when they leave it on a cliffhanger. So I like being able to see the next episode right away. But yes, I'm a huge fan of LA by Night. I love it so much. And yes, I did indeed say LARP. I used to do LARPing. I tried to get back into it over here in London. But as I don't drive anywhere, I feel awkward getting into full costume and then having to get public transport. You first notice the empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seems concluded. The patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this one would usually prove quite challenging to an inexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. Ah, there he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Oh, Samuel, I was one of those that put so much effort into my costumes for LARPing. I was playing, not to get too far away from the game, but the character that I played for like 4.5 years, she was a gangrel. So I would have like colored contact lenses that were like this really intense yellow-orange color, and I would do makeup so my eyes would look like a fox. And it was so much fun. I loved doing it. I would love to do a LARP again someday. Or like play in person again. Wishdog33, thank you so much for the follow. You are now one of my lovely lost tales, and you're welcome back at the Blue Rose Respite anytime. Take a seat, enjoy yourself. I'm sure the chat will make you feel more than welcome. And Agent187, thank you so much for the follow. You have been a welcome guest this evening. Thank you so much for the lovely questions as well. But you are now also one of my lovely lost tales, and I hope you're having a wonderful time tonight. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How's your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl, come over, please. There's somebody I'd like you to meet. A young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit this crowd. Julie, this is Stephanie. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from which the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you of the trouble of figuring out the next step. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, I mean that you know, she's cute. Oh, she's cute. I like her. A little awkward, but cute. She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip, then looks to you, embarrassed, but also hopeful. Play dumb, I think, because this feels like a test. Hey, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, you don't? She's clearly befuddled and unsure how to continue. She backs out of the topic and instead asks you about your favorite bands. You have a feeling she's waiting for you to do something. As you talk, she takes off her jacket, although the building isn't warm, unbuttons her sleeve and rolls it up. See a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. It's subtle, or at least she thinks it is, by the way she caresses her forearm is a dead giveaway. She's testing you. Can it be that she wants to be bitten? Fuck. I think honestly this feels like it's very much set up so that I can feed or hunt. Oh, yeah, I was like, I feel bad for this girl. Like, she seems awkward and sweet, but, you know, if she's consenting to it and she understands it, then I guess that's okay. Also, from what I can remember, the person that she was talking about, the vessel, didn't she refer to them as a he? I'm playing Ventrue with this run. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. She seems too eager about this. I'm gonna go no. The temptation is definitely there, but you can't make yourself do it. She's barely more than a kid. So what if she seems to want it? This is wrong. This is all fucking wrong. She sees your hesitation, but keeps staring at you with pleading eyes. You've seen this look before. In some documentary flick. Or maybe even on someone's face. This is a junkie begging for a fix. And hey, Noah, how's it going? Welcome back. She breaks into tears, starts shaking. Dejected, she wraps her arms around herself and starts walking down the stairs, back to the main hall. I'm letting her go. She doesn't look back, instead beelining to the toilet at the far end of the hall. Nobody pays her any attention but you and Sophie. You could swear she shook her head. Did I screw up? The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with, Stephanie. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. So, how did it go? How did what go? She shoots you a quizzical look in the rearview mirror. Don't play games with me. I'm sure the girl made no secret of what she was offering. I assumed it was guilt, some other ridiculous notion that made you believe Julie was forced to offer you her blood. Believe it or not, she does so willingly. She enjoys it. Oh well, if at first you don't succeed, perhaps you need a change of pace. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over to Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What's that about training wheels? What do you mean by training wheels? Julie was a proving ground for you to try your hand at controlled feeding. Now it's time for a real hunt. And that will require you to put in extra effort. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace. And more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. Okay, so what are my talents? Time will tell. You need to discover them yourself. When we arrive, experiment. Give different things a try. Follow your instinct and intuition. It will guide the blood. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind you to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go, look for someone to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood. But only pick one victim. Just one. Then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis court nearby. There's light coming from there, so someone might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. All these scenarios play out in your mind. You realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. Okay. Goody. Okay. Okay, the tennis court seems far too visible with those lights everywhere. No. I think just a general look around the park would be best. You start walking. The park's many avenues must hold a good spot or two for a predator like yourself. You pass 2 soccer fields and circle around where the Fountain of the Planets once awed visitors with its spectacle before coming across an opportunity. A woman, a small duffel bag on her arm, is making her way through the park in a hurry. She doesn't seem to have noticed you yet. I think coming across as way too aggressive is kind of unsettling, but just focus her attention on you. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention of the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. For a moment you're thinking how an old guy in a hood would appear over your shoulder saying, "Use the Force, Stephanie." It feels ridiculous. But then something stirs within you. There's a confidence there, an allure that you might have had before, but one that's increased manifold in this moment. You catch the woman's eye. She flashes an unsure smile, almost in spite of herself as she passes you by. Hey, you. She's tense, gripping her bag close but attentive. Her eyes lock onto yours. The slight smile is there again. Yes, what is it? Almost intuitively, you close the distance between you. She can't look away. She's unprepared for what follows. In a swift move, you grab her and bite down. Her surprise resonates in her blood. Hot, excited, fast-flowing. She tenses up, then relaxes. The duffel bag hits the ground. Bliss. Footsteps. You let go of her. She drops to the ground, barely conscious. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing, barging in on my turf like this, lick? I didn't know this was claimed turf. Didn't mean to trespass. I didn't mean to trespass. Sorry, I'm going. Too late for that, friendo. You want to leave here in one piece? You talk. Candidly. I know what you are, so you can shove that Masquerade misdirection up your ass. No. Better tell me who you're with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. Oh, he's giving me Anarch energy. He's giving me Anarch energy, but I worry about seeing Sophie here as well. Ah! I'm with the Camarilla! Chill out, I'm with the Camarilla. He does anything but chill out. Fuck! God damn it! Okay. He immediately tenses up, gives you an extremely nasty look and bares his fangs. You with the ivory... I'm not saying that word. You with the ivory tower, huh? Well, 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 tonight's my lucky night. I'm gonna fuck you up and bring you to Callahan. He'll have some fun breaking your shins, and maybe by the end of it, I'll get to have a nice long sip. I wonder what you taste like, lick. He does the best impression of Hannibal Lecter's and a nice Chianti shtick, but he's not as intimidating as he thinks. Yeah, we just fed. Let's use some of that, like, some of our awesome superpowers. Enough's enough. You won't be intimidated by this asshole. Leave now. His countenance changes. A cruel beast one moment, a humble pup the next. He walks away, just like that. How did you do it? Not wishing to tempt fate any further, you return to the Unisphere, looking back over your shoulder to make sure you're not followed. Two figures are visible near the sculpture, a man and a woman, tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding. This whole scene is set up so it looks like a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet, and she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree. Well, Stephanie, how did it go? You're about to answer when the same figure as before emerges from one of the alleys. He looks at the three of you, and a predatory smile creeps onto his lips. You're screwed, dumb fuck. You think you can mess with my head and get away with it? Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. First, that feeling of warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, entrancing both of you and the hooded thug. His shout comes out as a weak, confused squeak. Second, Gregory produces a wooden stake from a holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Ooh, I like Sophie and her ghouls, they're great. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed. I see you've made a friend, Stephanie. Curious choice of company, I would say. Who is he? He said this was his turf and I trespassed on it. I thought this place was supposed to be safe. Well, he's not part of the Camarilla. Ghonnathan hasn't been claimed by anyone I know of. Curious. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this hoodlum's acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away, but then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by the rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has perks. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend at the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the Prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many facets. What's going to happen to him? The usual, I imagine. Interrogation by Kadir, probably in the basement of the gallery. A quick trial with the prince in attendance if she's there tomorrow night. A swift execution as the verdict. This all sounds eerily familiar to you, and you can't help but feel a pang of guilt when you think about what awaits this guy tomorrow night. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. Yeah, we're getting the hang of it. We used our powers, we entranced our prey. I think we're getting it. We're getting it. I think I am. Yeah, I'll cope. I'm glad. She doesn't question you further. She seems distracted. Not all there. Her thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory, with the body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with a situation like this in the past, unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, and then a decision. This time you turn the lights off. You think back to Julie. How many people in the city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are they independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms like an old friend. Okay. And with that, I think we will be wrapping things up tonight, guys. I will just quickly read the new terminology that we've added to our dictionary. But this seems like a good point to wrap up tonight's story. So, Sheriff. The sheriff ensures that the traditions and the decrees of the prince are obeyed, hunts down violators, and delivers just punishment. In the case of minor violations or known enemies of the Camarilla, the sheriff is usually authorized to act as both judge and jailer/executioner. But when it comes to greater offenses, they will deliver the accused to the court to be judged. The kiss. An act of drinking blood, usually from a mortal. The kiss causes feeling of ecstasy in those who receive it. The embrace. The act of transforming a mortal into a vampire. The embrace requires the vampire to drain her victim and then replace that victim's blood with a bit of her own. Kindred. The Camarilla term for vampires as a whole, or a single vampire. According to rumour, this term came from about in the 15th or 16th century after the Anarch Revolt. Domain. The area of a particular vampire's influence. Princes claim entire cities as their domains, sometimes allowing lesser vampires to claim domain within. Vessel. A source of blood for sustenance or pleasure, primarily mortal. Lick. A derogatory term, usually used to address young, unexperienced vampires. The Ivory Tower. Another name for the Camarilla. Court. The social system of a city's kindred, resembling the feudal system of mortals. At the top is the prince, below them, the members of the Primogen Council. Order in the domain is maintained by the sheriff. The gatherings are organized in secret sanctuaries known as Elysiums. Haven, a vampire's home or base, where they find sanctuary from the sun. Alrighty. And with that, let us wrap things up this evening. And Sophie is looking especially wonderful this evening, and it is an absolute delight to be adopted by her. But we will be wrapping things up here and now tonight. Thank you all so very much for joining me this evening. If you've been lurking in the shadows and you like what you've seen so far, please consider hitting that follow. We would love to have you back at the Blue Rose Respite. And we will be returning to Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York next Sunday as well. And next Friday, we will be continuing with my Friday Night Fright streams, and we will be playing Misao, another RPG Maker game that I'm very excited to explore with you guys. But thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Be sure to check out my other socials that are in the chat right now, including my Twitter for important updates, my YouTube for my ASMR tales, and if you haven't already, speaking of which, Be sure to check out the ASMR tale that I posted last night if you are a fan of vampires, as it is a vampire-themed ASMR story. And be sure to check out my Instagram as well, where I post the occasional lovely picture of myself. But thank you all so very much for joining me this evening. Thank you so much to everyone who's just joined us tonight, who are new here. It was wonderful to see so many new faces tonight, so I really hope you're able to make it back again soon. Thank you all so much for joining me. And let me just check if there's anyone currently live I want to send you to. You know what? As we're playing Vampire the Masquerade, let us send you to the Prince and Seneschal of LA by Night. Thank you all so very much for joining me tonight. I hope you all have an amazing week ahead. And remember, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, stay wicked and wonderful. Good night, guys.